Hey everyone, it's Augustus here, and this week I'm going to be talking about a carryover from last week's video, last Friday's video. And I know last Friday I put out a video talking about guilds and communities and how I joined one, and I did a little promotion for that guild, which, speaking of which, I'm no longer with that guild. I've joined a new LS, or link shell for Final Fantasy XIV, and I won't go into too much detail on that or as to why, but what I really wanted to discuss was the fact that guild officers and trust. You know, when you have guild officers, you want people that you have the ability and confidence to be able to trust them. And I'm not just talking about a group of your friends, get together and say, oh, well, let's make a guild. That's not a guild. That's a group of friends wanting to get together and have fun. There's a difference between guilds and groups of friends. My biggest problem with having your friends as officers and just not, I don't want to say random people as officers, but picking and choosing those random people that you can trust, that you've played with for a long time. And when I say a long time, whatever you would feel is reasonable length of time for you, whatever you would feel comfortable with, because your trust has to be able to be dependable on that person, and they have to be reliable. You have to know that, like, if you're not going to be around, you can trust them to take care of a problem that might arise, or that your guild or community won't fall apart. And I've noticed that with a lot of guilds or communities that I've joined, and I see this a lot of them have like this inner circle, and they're all close-knit friends. Now they may not all live in the general area or the general city, but they all seem to say that they know each other pretty well. It's almost as to say, oh hey, we're all related. It's a clique group or a tight-knit circle. And I find that a lot of guilds and communities like that, they don't want to call themselves elitist guilds, or they don't want to say that they're like high and mighty, but what I've noticed is they don't seem to be very open with trusting people and just letting anyone in. It's almost like, oh, we want to filter out only the people we want. I don't think that that's really right. I'm not going to say it's not fair. I just don't believe that it's right. I believe that, everyone deserves a chance at least once. And, granted, even if they screw up, okay, well then, depending on how severe the screw up is or how badly they mess up, they might get a second chance. But, if it's too severe, yeah, give them the boot. Obviously, it doesn't take much to tell how a person is. And, to have an application process and filter out, well, I'm just going to be blunt, filter out jackasses or asshats. That might work for some, but it doesn't quite work for everyone. And this picking and choosing, I don't particularly think is right, because that's like saying, oh, you're not good enough for us, we don't want you around. It's not very welcoming. It's not very encouraging to new members that may have joined your guild already. And when they start seeing this or hear this, guild, Free Company, Link Shell, Grand Company, or whatever it may be called. It's just not very appealing. And granted, you want your officers to be reliable, and you want to be able to trust them. Now, obviously, you don't want to make some random person that you don't know, or you can't rely on, that you've just met like within, I don't know, 2 days. And obviously you don't want to make that individual an officer. You play with them for like 6 months or even a year for the first year, and if you see that they really impress you, or they really do something that does catch your attention, and in a positive way, it give them a chance. Make them, I don't know, a junior officer. You don't have to give them like full privileges, but you put them under the wing of an actual officer, so that officer can teach them, the do's and don'ts, the rights and wrongs, or whatever the case may be. At least give them one chance. Don't just throw them aside and say, oh well, he doesn't fit our little niche. Or she doesn't fit our little niche, and that individual isn't just good enough for us. So they can just stay in the Link Shell. They're not good enough for the Free Company or the Grand Company, or the Guild, or whatever the case may be. And I mean, this is also really important. When you join a guild and you're an officer, and you have members that make comments about newly joined members, it doesn't give the community or guild a very good outlook when that newly member's talked about, whether it's, I don't want to say whether it's in a positive way, but more so a negative way. You just don't want to give that kind of impression, because then that new member is liable to leave your guild feeling unwelcome, and then they might join a new guild and say, hey, look, I was in this last guild, and their members were talking badly about me, and the officers didn't do anything about it. And that's just an example. And you don't want to give people that kind of impression, because obviously, well, to be blunt, it would make your guild look like an asshat. It would make you guys look like the jackasses. And you don't really want to do that. I mean, it's a game. You're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to enjoy yourself. And for people out there that think that guild is just a group of friends, it's not just a group of friends. It's a group of people that have come together for a common cause or a common goal to be reached, whether it's in-game content, whether it's player versus player, whether it's player versus environment, whether it's raiding, or whether it's just crafting. And I mean, granted, I know a lot of people out there would say, well, why just crafting? I mean, crafting is so boring. You know what? To some people, that is their enjoyment. And if that's their enjoyment, let them be that way. But that's not what this is about. This is about officers and building trust with them, because your officers, you want to know, can handle a situation, especially if two members have problems with each other. And if you as a guild leader are not around, or even you have a co-guild leader and neither one of you are around, you want to know that your officers can be able to handle that. You don't want a bunch of people that are going to fight amongst themselves, or that are going to be overly biased. That's really my thought on that, and I see that a lot in guilds and communities, and granted, everyone that says, well, if you have such a problem with it, why don't you make your own? Because every time I have, no one's supported me. So I'm done trying that method. And I mean, I can give advice. If people don't want to take it, they don't have to. That's their business. But it's out there. Here it is. Take it, leave it. I don't care. Either way. So, I mean, I can just encourage you to watch this video and hope that, my advice, will reach someone's ears and maybe they will actually take that into consideration, especially when choosing their officers and choosing who they have as officers. Because you definitely want people that you can trust. And granted, even if your officers are related to you, you don't want your officers to act like jackasses towards members, because if those members leave, well, like I said, they could go to other guilds, and that doesn't make you guys look good. So, regardless, I'm not directing this at anyone. It's just my thoughts, my opinions on the matter, and like I said, I can only hope that this advice reaches people. And thank you again for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next video.